Make way for the real world's champion of wrestling, internet wrestling, Larson.
Anybody can put some spray paint on the tile and declare themselves where they want to be.
All right, where's my Mindy's? All right, let's go ahead and dive into this. First hot take is from BLS. Bacon, lettuce,
Sandwich.
The Fiend with better booking would have been the greatest character in WWE history. Who do you think with better booking could have been the greatest character in WWE history?
Psycho Sid.
That's a lot of work. Like, that's a lot of work to be done to make Psycho Sid.
Man, dude had charisma, though.
The best character in wrestling. The Fiend with better book. So here's the thing that I love about The Fiend. I don't know about the greatest in history because that's kind of tough. That being said, the aspects of The Fiend that he has in terms of like the positives that could have made him really good is the meta stuff.
Yeah.
Is like his commentary on pro wrestling. We saw with the Cena match at Performance Center WrestleMania.
Yeah.
The Firefly Funhouse match.
Brilliant.
Bray Wyatt's a very creative person. But Larson,
Yes.
At the end of the day, what does the bell do that makes it difficult to make The Fiend the greatest character in WWE history?
Bell rings.
The bell rings.
You got to run ropes.
You got to run ropes. And until I am able, and maybe they'll crack it with Uncle Howdy. I don't know. But like in terms of everything that is necessary in pro wrestling to be a great character, Bray Wyatt, The Fiend, all that, they had it. If the booking was better, yes. But how to meld the worlds of pro wrestling and what Bray was doing, I don't think was ever really cracked.
Well, definitely not when he was The Fiend. No, and in a lot of ways, I felt like The Fiend was the most limiting character for him in the world of pro wrestling. Mm-hmm. Because of that.
Yeah.
I thought what he was doing in the Firefly Funhouse was wildly interesting, and could have been so much more if the booking consistently was solid. And I kind of wonder if there wasn't the Fiend aspect of it involved. Mm-hmm. Would there be a limit, the same limit potentially? You know, if Bray out there running ropes in a sweater and some slacks, mm-hmm. if he was fully always in Firefly Funhouse form,
yeah,
I don't know. Honestly, I'm not going to say that I think Bray's initial iteration, the charismatic leader, mm-hmm. cult leader, whatever you want to call it, I don't know if I'd say he would be the greatest character in WWE history. I feel like that character had the highest ceiling in terms of doing interesting stuff without the limitation of, you got to run ropes.
Because here's the thing. If you look at his first match against Cena, the potential was there to meld the character with the in-ring stuff, mm-hmm. if he was able to get Cena to violate his own morals. Principles, yeah. And then they didn't do that. But that's a good example of, hey, here's a character who can, and they're doing it in a very Wish.com way with Karrion Kross, I feel.
Yeah.
Like that dude takes loss after loss after loss, and then when something happens that changes the character that he had faced a year ago.
Retroactively, they give credit to Karrion Kross.
He says, look what happened to you since then.
It's like, I did that.
I did that. It's like, wait a second. I had moved on from you clearly. No. You remember when I put a hourglass in the ring with you? Yeah, I did that.
No, but you never did that. You only did that once to Roman Reigns. Now Undefined here says, Punk only signed with AEW to show WWE how much he is worth.
Wow.
They deliberately got himself fired to go to WWE. Here's the thing.
I think he did get himself deliberately fired.
You can probably make that case.
Choke out a guy right in front of your boss.
But if Punk's goal was to go to AEW to show WWE how much he was worth, I mean, especially when Collision started, I mean, it wasn't like rocking and rolling in the ratings.
Yeah.
You know, and him going to AEW did nothing, and I'm not laying blame on him exclusively for this, didn't alleviate any worries about him being potentially an issue backstage.
Okay, so let's just start with the premise here. Punk only signed with AEW to show WWE how much he is worth. So what do we know prior to him signing with AEW? He did backstage, WWE backstage.
Yeah, apparently there was feelers sent out about possibly him returning to the company, and as he put it, he didn't want to play the same games that were played before.
He said that they were playing games with the communication aspect of things.
Yeah.
So he wanted to get back into wrestling. I think, and And I do actually believe him when he says he was sold a false bill of goods when it comes to what he thought AEW was going to be, what Tony Khan had pitched him on what AEW was. And eventually it just turned into whatever he thinks it turned into, or whatever. I guess in his estimation, it's
not a real business.
To appease Dave Meltzer, not to make money.
Yeah.
So I think that probably after the Mindy's Bakery incident, where he was sitting here with the title running down the company before the Real World Championship.
Yeah, it wasn't the Real World's title.
Right.
It was actually the AEW.
Right. Imagine the X isn't there. I think after that, when he went to visit Raw, I think at that point he probably really wanted to be in WWE. And it's possible that when Tony Khan kind of forced his hand and was like, I'm not going to fire you, come back to Collision, you can have your own show. I mean, by evidence of like the best angle in the history of wrestling, the Real World Championship angle. No. I think that he was making an effort to make the most out of it, to make chicken shit. I'm sorry. Yeah, to make chicken shit out of chicken salad.
It's the other way around.
I know he got that wrong.
He did.
I think he was trying to make good on it because he's like, this is what my lot is right now. Let me at least try it.
But if he got fired, I don't think he cared.
All right. Next up, Carson Gillis. Okay, so here's like a twofer. These are conflicting.
These are related.
These are conflicting though, because listen to this. Carson Gillis says, hot take, AEW booking was better when Cody was in Gorilla night in and night out for them. Conversely, Oliver Wells, not sure if he's related to Orson, says
name spelled different.
Do you know Orson Welles was an early contender to be the voice of Darth Vader?
I think I remember that.
Isn't that crazy?
That'd been amazing.
Early AEW is not as good as people remember. We had weird matches like Dustin Rhodes versus Jake Hager being the opening match to a $50 pay-per-view, and then pandemic hit a few months into their run. AEW really only got good in the summer of 2021. I firmly disagree with this last take because I actually went back and did a little bit of research on search engine.
Look at Steve.
I know, right? I have this all printed up and everything.
Learning how to use search engine.
Yeah, 45 years after.
I know. Did you use Yahoo, though?
I used GeoCities. So he says AEW really got good in the summer of 2021.
Alta Vista.
I disagree with that.
Yeah.
Early AEW was a shit ton of fun. Cody versus MJF was really
there was good stuff. There was some good stuff. The early episodes of Dynamite were all over the place. There was good stuff, and there was a lot of bad.
They were experimenting a lot. You could definitely tell there was a push and pull between Cody at Gorilla and like the Young Bucks.
Yeah. Yeah, and it seemed like they might have had different visions of what they wanted Dynamite to be, and apparently Tony Khan put his foot down. It's like, oh, all your visions are going to have to go through me now.
You know what was an early AEW was the musical number from MJF and Chris
Would
Jericho.
you consider that early? Isn't that 2021?
It was pandemic era.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
What is that? What was that called? Dinner Debonair?
Dinner Debonair. I think it was, I want to say February of 2021. So I don't know. I like stuff like that because it was different, and it was like I always talk about with AEW. When they only had to worry about 2 hours of wrestling, they had the freedom to be creative. And then when they went to 5 hours of pro wrestling,
freedom goes out the window.
It's like, oh shit, we got to look at all these pages that we have to fill now. Kyle O'Reilly match, hey, Malachi Black in trios action.
Do something for me real quick. Give me a Darth Vader line, but as Orson Welles. I'm stuck on the idea of hearing that now.
Give me a line. What is the one? Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your father.
Yeah, do that one.
Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your father.
No, actually, that's not going to work.
I don't think it would be good.
No, in theory, it's like, oh, that could be interesting, and you do that, and like, no, James Earl Jones is perfect. Now, we've had the conversation about Cody's influence backstage, both creative and in terms of managing egos and stuff, a lot over the ever since Cody left, pretty much, until we get like an authoritative account of what happened in the early days of AEW. We don't know for sure.
We'll get an oral history one day. I feel like we'll get an
we should. That'd be great.
I know, it'd be great.
And depending on what Oliver is saying by early AEW, if he means 2019, early 2020, there's a lot of stuff there wasn't that great. But
yeah, but like the good stuff, I think what like the entire Hangman Page Kenny Omega saga was 2020.
Oh, that was great. Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I feel like the good stuff of that time. Yeah, is it all over the map? Kind of, but I don't know. I'm not opposed to that because they're just trying new stuff. You're doing different things. And again, it's only 2 hours of Dynamite. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So,
I'm looking back at Double or Nothing 2020.
yeah.
Oh, that was the first Stadium Stampede.
Which was fun.
That was fun.
Which was a lot of fun.
Mox and Brody Lee.
Yeah, Brody Lee was
Was early-ish 2020.
early 2020.
Trying to find this. Oh, there's the Hager Dustin Rhodes match that opened up Revolution 2020.
All right, so this is the one that he's talking about.
So the main event was Mox and Jericho for the title, where Mox won it.
And look, there's only like 8 matches on the main card.
Yeah, yeah. Pac beat Orange Cassidy, MJF and Cody, Nyla Rose and Statlander, Kenny and Hangman versus the Young Bucks.
That's good stuff.
That's a half hour long. That was a really good match. Darby Allin versus Sammy Guevara. Yeah, I mean, you pick the one match on the card that on paper looks like a turd.
Yeah, right.
You know,
Probably a 4-star affair, Larson.
and they give it 14 minutes. Wow.
DJ Luke D says Survivor Series. I actually agree with this one. Survivor Series is going to be too early for Bad Bloodline versus Good Bloodline. They should extend this story to build up all members of the Bad Bloodline. We are 5 months out from Survivor Series.
5 months out.
We are. We're 5 months out from Survivor Series. And I feel like we've barely scratched the surface on who Tama Tonga is, on who Tongalo is, on who Tall Guy Tama Tonga is.
See, I feel like we got a better sense of Tama Tonga. Us, as wrestling fans, in our minds, Tonga Loa is still this guy.
Yeah. Poor Okada has to sit there and sell this shit.
And they got to get that out of our memory. We got to get this out. And until they do that, I'm still going to think this when I see Tonga Loa. So they need to start working. They can call him infamous. They can have him do stuff after matches, but during matches, they got to make him seem like
Now listen, you know what they should have
the
done?
threat that they hype him up to be.
You know what they should have done? They should have shown the footage of him botching his debut,
Yeah.
trying to figure out how to get under from under
He's
the mat,
a loose cannon.
and just roll with that. Like this dude, he's just a walking botch machine.
Yeah.
No, but I do think that the way they tell their stories, I think that 5 months isn't enough. Like even if Rock and Roman, or if Roman shows up at the end of SummerSlam, let's say they do Cody solo at SummerSlam.
Yeah, that seems a possibility.
Right, which is a possibility. Roman shows up afterwards, or Rock shows up afterwards, or something like that. I think from that point on, what is that? Early August? November?
Be 3.5 months.
Be
Total.
3.5 months. I don't think that's enough to do a big, what did they call it last year? Tribal warfare or something like that?
That was a different match. It wasn't War Games, but yeah, they had a tribal warfare match.
Oh, yeah. No, you're right.
That was the one that was Solo and that was
Solo and Roman versus Jimmy and Jay, right?
Wasn't it just Roman versus Jay at SummerSlam?
Oh, I forget. Oh, yeah. That's a different one. I was thinking of the tag team match.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Though, yeah.
But yeah, I kind of feel like it's probably they're gonna need more time to build. You know what they should do? Strip Survivor Series of the War Games necessity,
And just do War Games when it makes sense.
and just do War Games when it makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yep.
Buck and 5 says people would have been all right with Sean HBK beating Taker in one of their Mania matches. Yeah, I think they've been okay with
Yeah,
it.
they've been fine with it.
They've been fine.
They've been fine
They've
with
been
it.
fine with
It
it.
made sense.
People, they'd love it. God damn.
They probably liked it more than Brock in the streak, I'll tell you what.
Probably. Dared.
Has a hot take. Despite often being painted as selfless, Bryan Danielson's outright refusal to win any titles in AEW is extremely selfish
Wow.
and actively detrimental to the general quality of AEW product. So he's being selfishly selfless.
Yeah, he's like, hey, I'm going to lose all the time. And theoretically, it's going to get people over. But really, this guy is a big name. He's a Mania main eventer. Of course, last time we saw him at WrestleMania, he was getting stacked with another dude by the Tribal Chief. Throw your ones up for Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes. And he should be winning more. Do you agree or disagree with this?
I think he should be winning more. But the fact that he hasn't won any titles doesn't necessarily bother me. I don't feel like that necessarily adversely affects AEW's programming overall. I think the general Lack of interesting stories since Danielson's come into the company has affected the creative overall, my enjoyment overall, as opposed to him not winning a title. But then again, hearing about his the story goes that when you signed with WWE, they had you take like some sort of test that measures ambition. He got the lowest score they'd ever recorded. So, like going into AEW, I wasn't expecting him to achieve a bunch of accolades in terms of championships and such, because he seems like the type of guy that went there to just have interesting matches. Again, AEW is about performance.
You know what we should have got?
What?
You know what we should have got? We should have got Daniel Bryan versus
Brian Danielson.
Sorry, Brian Danielson versus
Real
World's Champ. Oh, Daniel Bryan versus Brian Danielson. Over the Real World's Championship.
That's fine. Let's give me that match.
Give me that match. Where's my Mindy's?